On this day, April 17th, back in 1837, John Pierpont Morgan was born. A man who revolutionized finance, who bankrolled the Industrial Revolution, who underwrote the pay of the U.S. Army, who helped bail out the federal government 3 times, who broke J. Cooke's government bond monopoly, and who was then responsible for creating monopolies of his own. Now, it's hard to sum up Morgan's impact on American history in just a couple of minutes, but here's the TLDR. Morgan, who preferred to be called Pierpont, was a scion of a Welsh family that immigrated to the U.S. in the 1600s. His grandfather was pushing the family into private banking back in the 1800s, but it was in 1838 when George Peabody opened a merchant bank in London and brought in Pierpont's father, Junius Morgan, as a partner. Together, they helped make the firm the leading marketer of American securities in England and in Europe. Junius took over in 1864, but it was his son Pierpont who transformed the sprawling business when in 1871 he hooked up with Philadelphia banker Anthony Drexel to form Drexel Morgan and Company. By 1895, Pierpont had consolidated the family's firms into one and rechristened it as JP Morgan and Company. At the turn of the century, the bank and the man were responsible for helping to bankroll the buyout of Andrew Carnegie's companies to create U.S. Steel. They spearheaded consolidation of Thomas Edison's companies to form General Electric. They helped finance the U.S. government land deal for the Panama Canal. And one of the most talked about actions occurred during the stock market panic of 1907 when Pierpont marshaled major banks in New York to supply liquidity to the market. The creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913, the year he died, was both a rebuke and a tribute to the man historian Ron Chernow so eloquently referred to as the nation's central banker. Now, the House of Morgan, of course, would live on after his death, which brings us to the question of the day. When did JP Morgan become a public company? It's a trick question. The answer, 1940 and 1969. The bank did away with its private partnership in 1940, listing its shares on the New York Stock Exchange, though a reorganization in 1969 led the company to reincorporate as a holding company, which included a new stock listing. The 1980s brought a huge transformation in the business with the relaxation of Glass-Steagall, as did the year 2000 when JP Morgan sold itself to Chase Manhattan, a legacy of Pierpont's nemesis, John D. Rockefeller. Now, 4 years after the Chase tie-up came another big change, the arrival of a brash up-and-coming banker named Jamie Dimon, a protege of Sandy Weill who helped cobble together what is now Citigroup. After a falling out with Weill, Dimon resurfaced in Chicago as CEO of Bank One Corp, with former Solomon Smith Barney CFO Charlie Scharf at his side. Dimon returned to New York in 2004 by helping broker a $58 billion takeover of Bank One by JP Morgan Chase, and at the end of 2005, he took over as CEO of the new combined company. Now, at age 68, having lorded over the $3.8 trillion bank for going on 19 years, it may be time for another transition. While Dimon has been famously coy about his retirement plans, his last incentive package only requires him to stay on the job until 2026.